Her hair looks way better than mine.
My hair does not look that good.
Okay.
It looks crazy.
Yeah.
This is the best. This is the best we're gonna.
During the interview, just kind of.
This is what we're gonna do. Set up here. Everyone wants to be on camera. Okay, here. Okay, you both get in there. Wait.
Yeah. I'm too tall.
No, you're not. You're gonna have to. Okay,
Hi,
wait.
honey.
Sit back in your chair.
What? This?
No. Dad, it's not gonna be perfect. I'm shooting it on my
I
iPhone.
want it to be perfect. Come on. What do you I taught you to
Wait,
strive
hold
for
on.
greatness every time you
Hold
walk
on.
on the field.
Did you hear that? First question
Okay.
from Kendra. What position, team, and years did your dad play?
Oh man, 14 in the league.
Okay, and what teams?
The Vikings, the Falcons, the Vikings again, and then the LA Rams when they were in LA the first time around.
And the first year you played?
1969, really, the Vikings' first Super Bowl team.
Okay, and what Super Bowl was that?
Super Bowl IV.
Okay, but this is important because when people hear that you played in the NFL, they think NFL, modern NFL,
Way different.
with the Mercedes-Benzes and Rolls-Royces and things like that, but that wasn't the case at the time.
No. I got $2,000 to sign a contract and $7,000 the first year being on the Cab squad. And big-time players who had been around a long time were all pros. Some of them were under $20,000 and $15,000 in those years.
And comparing that, because Mom was in her first year of teaching.
She made $10,000 when I made $9,000.
So a public school teacher made more money than
As a
an NFL rookie.
As a beginner.
As
in my case, the contracts were all structured differently, but nobody made a lot of money.
Okay, I think that's important to know. Amanda wants to know what your fondest memory is.
Oh God! I kind of said it when we did the interview the other night. It's everybody coming together from all walks of life, different backgrounds, different religions, and becoming a team and achieving success.
So in general.
In general.
And was that across the different teams that you saw that?
Yes. It was a good experience overall. It was a tough game then too, as we can get into anytime you want. But
okay, well let's get into it because actually we had a numerous questions from folks about whether or not you think your grandsons should play and whether or not you're worried about head injuries.
I don't think anybody should play tackle football till they're 14 or 15 years old. I'm not a Pop Warner fan. I never
But you didn't
was.
play. You didn't play.
No, I didn't. But we played tackle football on the playgrounds, which was stupid too.
Yeah, but just little boys playing together, not in an
12
organized
and 13, 14. Yeah,
league, but
yeah.
not like Pop Warner, 8-year-olds, organized coaches yelling at each other, that sort of thing.
No, none of that.
Yeah. So you just don't think they should play at all?
No.
There's no benefit for it. They're not going to learn new skills. I mean, because in Texas, football is really serious, Dad.
It's serious in a lot of places.
But it's different
and I loved the game
in
myself.
California, where I grew up. You couldn't actually. I mean, it was tough to find a league that you could play in before high school.
Warner.
But you could. But no one was playing in it.
Not many.
But here, people are playing in it.
Well, let me give you a piece of advice. If your son is a good athlete, and we're talking football now, this could be a daughter with traveling softball and all kinds of other things. They are going to catch up. The Pop Warner kids might be ahead as freshmen in high school, maybe a little bit at the beginning of the sophomore year, but the other kids are going to catch up. I watched it with your brother's group coming through in San Francisco, and there were teams outside the city that were better as freshmen, and then they weren't later, and kids catch up.
And then they didn't have those years of potential injuries.
If the helmets continue to progress and get better as they have the last probably 18 months or so. They're very expensive right now, but the prices have dropped in the last 2 years. And if they can get a safer helmet, but the big thing about a helmet, whether it's the best helmet in the world or not, it has to be fitted properly. And you have to have somebody that knows what they're doing, being fitted. And if people out there have high school kids, the head sizes are changing, and they've got to get fitted, maybe even in the same year twice.
Is that through, where do you get fitted?
Well, hopefully there's a trainer, there's somebody from the helmet manufacturers that sold the helmets that knows how to get the helmets fitted properly. And if you're in doubt, talk to your family physician and get a recommendation and get 2 or 3 helmets. You can return 2 of them and get the right helmet. So don't rely on one for 2 or 3 years.
That's interesting because Macy and Lindy both had the same question about whether or not the new helmet technology was worth it and whether or not the padding in the game overall, the sort of protection that players are wearing is actually better or giving people a false sense of security about tackling and throwing their bodies in front of other people?
Well, in the old days when we played, the defensive coaches all used to use the expression, put your hat on them, which means they wanted everybody tackling with their face mask and their helmet. A lot of neck injuries, a lot of head injuries. That wasn't necessarily the coach's fault. That was the way they had been taught when they were playing. But it's evolved. It's a safer game now in a lot of ways, in the NFL in particular. It's a tough physical game. The equipment has been improved, but it needs to keep improving.
David wanted to know if there was a noticeable point where you saw players getting bigger and the injuries getting more significant. Is it an issue that suddenly the players are that much bigger?
Well, they
that much
are
stronger?
bigger. I tell you what, it has happened, and we noticed it in my career too. Towards the end years in the late '70s, traction on the field has gotten better, maybe too good in certain
that means
cases.
like the
The
ability to
artificial
stop.
turf suit, you'll see the artificial turfs of varying varieties. Anybody's watched football, seen a player go down grabbing his knee and he wasn't hit by anybody. It just happened his cleats or whatever type of footwear he had on grabbed wrong at the wrong time, and all of a sudden you lose an anterior cruciate ligament or something.
So you're saying
like
the
that.
ability for the field to stop the players when they're running because they're
Yeah.
trying to get it to.
But they can also you pick up speed. Because the traction is good too. If you're running straight ahead, it's great. But if you're making cuts, there has to be more pressure on the knee and ankle joints.
So this is the final thing. What is your one smarter tip for people? Because everyone's going to have, come to a party where there's people yelling at the screen about football games or something's going to happen. Everyone wants to sound really smart when they're talking about football. So what's like a smarter tip you could give people about watching football or watching
In
a
a
game?
group?
Well, just like in general, because not everyone has your background, so we want to be smart about watching football. What should we pay attention to in the games that you think is really important?
The big advantage about watching the games now is the number of cameras, and you're going to get to see almost too many replays. But it's made I don't know if it's a more interesting game, but it gives the viewer more access than they've ever had before. And I think of incidences that happened when I was playing that would have been big news stories in today's world, but they weren't because nobody saw it.
So you're saying that's an interesting tip, is that remember when people are arguing over a replay and what actually happened, that the folks on the field do not have the same access, the players and often the officials, right? I mean, they get their on certain times they're able to watch.
It was always a tough game to officiate.
Right.
They added a sixth official. We had 5 at the beginning. But everything is happening like that, and they don't have the advantage. You see it in baseball, too. Baseball's talking about going to a digital strike zone, depending on the side.
And getting rid of the umpire.
Yeah, and it's and there are a lot of great umpires, too. And
Poor guys.
The big debate is back and forth about let's not take the human element out of the game. And that's an all sports thing. Let's not make it just a digital game.
Right. That would be sad.
Yeah, it would be.
What do you think of SmartHER News, Dad?
I love it. I love it because it's keeping you busy. You're not in my hair
because
all
I'm
the
keeping
time.
me busy.
Yeah,
It's like
no.
it is
With
keeping
3
me,
children.
It is keeping me busy.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's going to be a big hit, and we can't wait to see it get back on a regular basis once little True gets further along. And it's been a joy to be here with he and his brother and sister.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
More analysis with the dad of SmartHER News coming up. Thanks, guys.